it's new brake pads, but make sure they are okay then.
ลงก่อนได้เด็
Coming out? Yeah, you have to for the yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Alright, hold on.
Se sale in macchina fa fresco e la macchina non parte, sul cazzo vostro. Se la macchina parte e fa caldo, sul cazzo fuori. Non è la lunghezza del tubo, quando è acceso io ho messo la mano davanti, succhia un casino.
Ma anche se...
Succhia avanti da davanti.
No, da davanti succhiava, io ho messo la carta.
Succhia avanti, è proprio lui che la
Fatto è? Good.
Man, you have to stop filming. You go back in. There's
No, usually they lead to Canara.
Allora I get him. Okay, no problem. Did you feel if touch or
No, I think because of the power.
panas ya kalau tak terbayang. Okay. One more please, one more. Would you like to join in? No. Alright. No, we don't want the tax man to know it's here.
All right, where's the picture?
You lost it.
Okay, here, Alan. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to suck it in. How are you?
Responsible for the photo. You can do it now.
You can sit there. I'll be official support. Together. Hot just
Aoki-san. Okay, your teammate.
Okay, let's go. Let's go, let's go.
All right, 2 more minutes before I go. 齊咗係咪啊，哥？齊咗未？呢邊咧，打翻，應該少三兩個，冇所謂。啊，嚟，邵生嚟咗，邵生喺爭咗架發嚟啦！
one more here.
出嚟咁樣接中間嗰條友，佢哋行埋。阿莎莎，阿邵生企住咁啊！OK，perfect，我係。Freddy, come in. Okay, ready?
Okay, everybody.
Sangkut dah, belakang sikit bro, belakang sikit.
Behind, please.
Okay,
Can we lose the umbrellas behind? Thank you.
All right, let's go. Come
Okay,
on.
guys, look here first. Right. 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay. Keep smiling. Keep smiling.
Okay, one more time's up. 1, 2, 3, 4, number 1. Number 1 today. Okay. Huh? You okay? If you're okay. Wait. Can I give you one big selfie? We got us see. Come. One big selfie. Come on. Roll. Roll up. One is the photo, one's the video. 1, 2, 3, yo. One more. Happy moon. I know it's really hot. Okay?
我幫你影到啦。
啊，你影我喺度。
And it's not even windy or raining.
Welcome to Sepang International Circuit, Malaysia, for round 8 of the GT Asia Series. The 8th round of the 13-race program, or the 8th race rather of the 13-race program. Yesterday, of course, we had round number 7. Yesterday morning start with torrential rain for qualifying. 2 15-minute sessions, a big delay in just after 5 minutes into the first qualifying session. Saw cars packed back into pit lane, drivers sitting in cars waiting for the circuit to be reopened. They reopened it after about half an hour. The cars went back out and completed their 15-minute session. And that saw an Audi R8 Absolute Racing front row with Alex Young, of course no stranger to race fans in Malaysia, former Formula One driver, now racing in Audis almost exclusively, certainly races in the Audi R8 LMS Cup, running at the front of that field, and very competitive every time he gets into a GT3 specification Audi here in the GT Asia Series. Unfortunately, the Absolute Racing team had a bit of a tough day, shall we say, yesterday. Both of them had driveline issues, so there were gearboxes out of both cars, I believe, last night. Certainly I saw one of them removed, but they're both back on the grid. The other drama they had is Christopher Mies, who won here alongside Jeffrey Lee at round 6 of the championship at Fuji. Unfortunately, the young German, who's a real star with the factory Audi outfit, he suffered a dose of food poisoning on Friday night, so he was a little bit second-hand at come qualifying. He managed to get through that session, went onto a saline drip in the medical centre, but could complete only 15 minutes of the session yesterday. So as soon as the compulsory pit stop window opened, he was straight into the pits. That left Jeffrey Lee 45 minutes behind the wheel. He did a sterling job, but unfortunately the car, just a few laps before the close of the first 60-minute race, he had to pull in, and that was their job done. Completely different race today. This is the amateur, the B drivers, in many cases the car owners behind the wheel. The rock stars will start session 2 or sector 2 of this race after the compulsory pit stop. Every car in this field must stop for a minimum of 75 seconds. Then there is a loading depending on where you finished yesterday's race. So the race winner, Frank Yu and Stefan Mucker, will incur an additional 12-second penalty. Second place car, that of course was Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu, who sit on the front row here. Anthony Liu second in the second qualifying session. We'll get to that in a moment. He'll incur an 8-second penalty and a 4-second additional time penalty for the points leaders, Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Englishman Rob Bell. On screen now, it looks like Australian Daniel Bilski, who did a very good job in qualifying yesterday in the Craft Bamboo Racing, the number 99 Aston Martin Vantage V12. If we just have a quick look at the starting grid, Stilantha Malagamua on screen takes a cool drink before the Sri Lankan gets behind the wheel of the Giardo FL2 GT3 he's sharing with Australian Nathan Antunis. See the car on screen. Thursday, it didn't look very much like that at all. There was something missing that was quite important in the back of the car. The engine hadn't arrived from Lamborghini in Italy, so they were working very late into the night on Thursday night to have the LP600 engine put into that car to have it ready for action today. So qualifying yesterday saw the Thai team, the AAS Porsche Singer team from Thailand, Pitti and Vutikorn, managed to put this car onto pole position in the dying stages of a very wet qualifying session yesterday, 15-minute session, the second session, which was just 10 minutes after the completion of the first session. They were real stars in the rain, the torrential rain at Fuji last time out. It was on the tail end of a typhoon that had passed through the region on the Thursday. They had a clear Friday and race 1 on Saturday, but come race 2 on Sunday, the weather was back and back with force. And Vutikorn did a brilliant job to work his way through the field to lead the second race before he handed over to Pitti. Unfortunately, the car had a spin and dropped a little bit back further down the order. They had a drama yesterday too. There's some discussion about whether or not there was a clutch failure or there was an electrical issue which shut the engine off as the car went through, just check the track map, somewhere around turn 7 or 8, and appeared to be stranded on the large ripple strips, of course, a Formula 1 circuit designed by German Hermann Tilke and first run in 1999. So quite high curves on the outside of the circuit, big wide runoff areas. That car stopped and that was the end of their run. They've worked on the car overnight, made sure it's back to its pristine condition, and Vutikorn will start the car today and expect to see that car run very strongly at the front of the field. But I'd be keeping my eye on the number 37 BBT Ferrari 458, prepared of course by AF Corsa in Italy, the customer support team of the Italian Ferrari factory at Maranello. They ran very strongly right through Thursday and Friday, but it wasn't the number 37 car. It was Roy Aguas, who of course shares the car with Nasrat Mazayan. They were incredibly quick very early over the weekend. Thursday and Friday, Aguas was on top of the timesheets in the number 38 Spirit of Race Ferrari, silver and black car. A little bit further down the order here today, but expect to see that car come forward. In fact, Roy said to me just before the race, he said, geez, we've been lucky all weekend, haven't we? We were lucky on Thursday, we were lucky on Friday. Geez, I was even lucky yesterday off the start of the race to lead into turn 1 and disappear before the compulsory pit stop. Man, I'm a lucky bloke. Well, we'll see how he goes a little bit later in this race when the stars jump back behind the wheel after the compulsory pit stop. Many of these drivers will pit very early in the piece. We're well and truly into the heat of the day. We're in the high 20s, humidity's well over 90%. A lot of these drivers will suffer in the heat. Some of these cars are air conditioned, but not too many. These drivers need to be very, very fit. So they're taking on as much water as they can. Most of them have cool suits. They will be very mindful of the fact this is going to be a hot, hot race. They need to keep their concentration levels up. So you'd expect to see many of the businessmen who own the cars, again, gentlemen drivers is the term often used around the world, pit early when the pit stop window opens around the 15-minute mark and change over to the pro drivers after their compulsory stop. So a quick look at the grid. The yellow and chrome Singha Porsche GT3R that sits on pole position, the number 11 car from Thailand. The number 37's BBT Ferrari 458 of Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu. Anthony Liu behind the wheel missed pole position in this session yesterday by just 8/100ths of a second. Very, very competitive driver. Very aggressive in the closing stages of yesterday's race. It's something we've come to expect from Anthony Liu. Very, very tough driver, using all of the circuit and then some. At one stage he had all four wheels in the grass as he tried to get around a GTM class car. It was very vocal yesterday afternoon during the driver debriefs about some of the slower cars. Admitted too, perhaps, that some of the GT3 professional drivers get a bit aggressive with the slower cars. Some of them are as much as 8 to 10 seconds a lap slower. Of course, a couple of generations older. The bulk of the GTM class this year, of course, has been a Ferrari 458 challenge car from Spirit of Race in Taiwan. Taiwan Top Speed Race Team out of Taiwan. They only have one representative this weekend, and it's George Chu, who runs the team, and Thomas Fjordbach. The two of them are battling for GTM honours. They split up last time round in Japan, and Thomas managed to leap ahead. They both had dramas in one of the two races. They've been on the podium for 5 out of the 6 races prior to this weekend. They won the race yesterday to have Thomas extend his points lead. George has crept up the order. Jackie Jung still in the championship hunt. He was on the podium again yesterday, and so too Takuma Aoki, the former MotoGP rider who unfortunately is paralysed in a testing accident in Japan many years ago, has come back. He's been an off-road driver. In fact, he was competing in Cambodia and Thailand up until Friday night, flew in for Saturday morning qualifying, jumped in the car and set pole, which is very impressive. A very competitive driver. He might be disabled, but that hasn't stopped him at all. And yesterday they got very close. Ken Urata and he driving the LP 560 Lamborghini for Delango Racing out of Sri Lanka. Of course, Delantha Malagamua has very strong ties too to Malaysia. This is part home, so too Sri Lanka. Very proud to be representing Sri Lanka. They finished second overall, and Jackie Jung came home third. He, of course, was sharing the driving duties yesterday with Ashraf Dewal, who's a local driver who's also doing double duty, as a number of these drivers are, between Carrera Cup Asia this weekend and the Audi R8 LMS Cup. They're all on the program here for Motorsport Asia. The Asian Festival of Speed will bring you round 8 of the GT Asia Series very, very shortly. Start time not far away. There's Roy Aguas, the star of Thursday, Friday and yesterday's race 1. Well, certainly the first stanza. Nazrat Mazayan gives you the thumbs up. He's got a big job ahead of himself. He's a little bit further down the order. So we'll just quickly check the order. We started down that run. So it's the Thai Porsche on the front row. Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu, P2. Mok Weng Sun, 2-time champion in the GT Asia Series. In the Clearwater Racing, number 3 Ferrari 458 starts out of position 3. Kane Jiang from China in the NB team Aston Martin Vantage V12 will start from position number 4. Position number 5 is Daniel Bilski, the Australian. Not a lot of experience in his home country, but has done a lot of miles around the Sepang circuit. Historic Porsches, Carrera Cup, Audi R8 LMS Cup. Is enjoying his time behind the wheel of the Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin Vantage. Position number 6 will be Delantha Malagamua, of course a former champion too in the GT Asia Series, sharing with Australian Nathan Antunis. In the number 24, the bright blue Delango Racing Lamborghini Gallardo LP 560. Position number 7 was Hiroshi Hamaguchi, the points leader in that gorgeous chrome Clearwater Racing McLaren MP412C. He shares with McLaren factory driver Rob Bell. Right behind them, will be the car that won round 6 of the championship. Jeffrey Lee in the Absolute Racing Audi R8 LMS Ultra that he shares with factory favourite Christopher Mies. The pair won the second race in torrential rain at Fuji last time out and sat on the front row here yesterday. Position number 9, Frank Yu, the winner here yesterday. He and Stefan Mucker will incur an additional 12-second penalty on their timed compulsory pit stop. That's a mouthful. I'm sorry, that took me a little bit to get out. 87 seconds they will stop, in contrast to the bulk of this field, who will be stopping for just 75 seconds. Position number 10, which was an impressive effort by Thomas Fjordbach. The Dane does a lot of sports car racing around the world, enjoys his time with the Taiwan Top Speed Racing team. He admitted to me earlier in this weekend, this is the 4th different Ferrari 458 Challenge car he has run this weekend. As we were saying just earlier, this team has a number of these cars. They often field 5 or 6 458 challenge cars in GT Asia. This is the first time all season that we've seen just one of them. It's the latest one they have. George Chu ran the car with Samson Chan last time out. Samson's a little bit further back in the field in his Ford GT. They weren't quite so lucky in race 2 in the rain in Fuji and were unable to score any great points, which allowed Thomas Fjordbach to leap ahead in the championship. He had, of course, shared the driving duties for rounds 1 or events 1 and 2, so rounds 1 through 4 with George Chu. They jointly led the championship up until Fuji, and the young Dane has managed to leap ahead. So they qualified in position 10, which amongst the GT3 cars is no small effort. In fact, his time, if we just check it, 2:32.7. Admittedly, it was wet. The leaders 2:29.3. Now, if we look at the pace of that car in race 1 yesterday, there was only a 3-second deficit to the leaders of the race in the wet. When you talk about the dry times, there's a fairly big discrepancy in times. If we look at the fastest time yesterday was posted by Stefan Mucker early in the race at 2:07.5, which is very close to the times they were running on both Thursday and during official practice on Friday. I just checked down the order to the Taiwan Top Speed Racing team at 2:16.2. It's 9 seconds, or certainly 8.5 or so seconds difference. It's a lot to make up, so very, very impressive by Thomas Fjordbach here in qualifying session number 2 yesterday. The team starting to leave the grid. The field looks like it's getting ready to form up behind the safety car, ready for a rolling start. Hallmark again of FIA GT3 competition worldwide. Very rare to see these cars do a standing start. We've seen it a couple of times during, I guess you'd call it national level, or certainly glorified club level racing in Australia. I don't mean any disrespect by saying that, but trying to explain at what level the competition is. They still do standing starts in some of the GT cars, and we often see that a lot of the drivers who compete regularly within them struggle to get their cars off the line. So it's not a usual thing to see a standing start these days in these cars. A rolling start where the leader controls the pace coming to the line is the norm. And yesterday we saw Roy Glass off the second row pop out from behind Alex Young to drive around he and Christopher Mies and pull in front of him as they went down to turn 1. The front straight here at Sepang International Circuit, Malaysia, is that long. And certainly the pace of the Ferrari has been very impressive all weekend. In official practice, it was a good 3 to 6 kilometres an hour faster at the end of the straight than the mighty V12, the 6-litre V12 Aston Martin. And that was a deficit to both Stefan Mucker and Max Weiser, whose NPT teammate, James Young, sits on the second row. White and aqua blue green Aston Martin. One car that we see, or the 2 cars we've seen struggling here this weekend, have been the turbocharged cars, the Nissan and the McLaren MP412C, of course a twin-turbo 3.8-litre Ricardo aluminium V8. They've really struggled in the heat. And, both Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Rob Bell explained yesterday that they were very happy to have made the podium because they felt they got the absolute best out of the car. They knew it wasn't going to suit them. They're the points leaders in the championship. They just wanted to make sure that they amassed enough points to retain their advantage over Racing Ferrari of Kitasawa and Mok Weng Sun. Getting a bit of tyre heat up, tyres up to temperature, hence the weaving. See the field running down to turn number 4. 15 corners, 5.54 kilometres. As we say, the temperature's certainly in the high 20s. It may have even crept into the low 30s. Humidity, it's hot. Bottom line, very, very hot. So those drivers will be suffering inside those cabins. Cool suits will be working overtime. There'll be dry ice in a lot of buckets. There'll be cold water for drivers to drink, but don't expect it's going to be cold for long. No rain this time round. Certainly made things interesting yesterday. The drivers lined up after 2 dry days for qualifying yesterday morning. The dry setup on slick tyres, and at 9 o'clock, about 15 minutes before, half an hour before the qualifying session, the rain came down, and it came down in buckets. It was pretty vertical, so the wind wasn't around, wasn't going anywhere in a hurry, and it just whitewashed both qualifying sessions. Anthony Liu was saying yesterday that he got second, but he said what happened is we went out for qualifying with the dry setup, and we went out for the racing with the wet setup. He said how we got as far up the order as we did, going up, but we weren't ready for it. This time round, it's been dry all day. I think all the teams are expecting it's going to be dry, it's going to be hot, it's going to be wet, and they will have set the cars accordingly. So what to expect off the start? I would expect that yellow and red Ferrari just in the bottom of the screens, just disappeared off screen now. Anthony Liu, the Chinese driver, who alongside Davide Ritsu and the BBT team were the pace setters at South Korea International Circuit for round 1 of the GT Asia Series, and they took victory in both races. Their debut in GT Asia, debut with a Ferrari 458, their debut with the AF Corsa team. And they impressed everybody with their performance. Of course, ran the Asian Le Mans Series last year for 3 hours with a Lamborghini, so slightly different machine. Both of them have some good knowledge of Carrera Cup Asia in past years. Both of them are very competitive drivers. And as we say, Anthony Liu's very aggressive, but aggressive in the way he drives. And we'd expect to see him push very hard early in this race, try and get away from the field behind, and hand teammate Davide Ritsu a good advantage as they come to the compulsory pit stop. But don't discount Vutikorn. See, they're coming up to turn 15, just lining up. Vutikorn will control the start in that silver and yellow Porsche GT3R. So this is round 8 of GT Asia Series. It's also round number 4 of the AAMC Macau GT Cup. Coming to the line, it will be a drag race. Vutikorn's keen to go. Yes, there's a line that distinguishes where he's able to start. You can hear them just waiting to fire, and it's action. They spread out right across the circuit. There's moves going on everywhere. He's trying to protect his line, but we know those Ferraris are fast in a straight line. Daniel Bilski's keen to move on. So too Frank Yu, who's moved alongside his teammate. There's a GTM class Porsche in the middle, one of the modern motorsport cars. It could be John Shed, could be Wayne Shed, can't quite see the number. And that's also Jeffrey Lee going around the outside, very wide as they come through turn 2. Vutikorn's retained the lead. Anthony Liu in position 2 and pushing hard. There's a spin from Michael Chua. That's disappointment for him. He was hoping for good things today, but he can still come back. Mok Weng Sun 3rd. Delantha Malaganu has done a fantastic job to be up to 4. There's Samson Chan rather in the 4GT. There's been a spin. Looks like the number 69 Porsche, the GTM class car, ran strongly yesterday. There's Samson Chan in the 4GT as Richard Wee, who finished 5th yesterday alongside Craig Baird, right behind him. So still Vutikorn, then Liu. Behind Liu is Mok Weng Sun, local driver, 2-time champion in the GT Asia Series for Clearwater Racing. Lango Racing, Lamborghini immediately behind him. Kane Jiang, who's done such a great job this year, the Chinese driver from the NB team in position 5. And right behind him, the championship points leader, Hiroshi Hamaguchi, as Ken Urata, that may well be, tries to dive down the inside of Thomas Fjordbach. Fjordbach crosses back across in the battle for GTM class honours. back in about 7th position. Looks very much like Frank Yu, the winner here yesterday, as Lou pushes again to try and find his way around the Porsche. Very controlled. Long run out of turn number 14 up to turn 15. Final turn on this 5-kilometre circuit. So it's what you call it. It's Lou, it's Mott, Wang Sun, it's Delanta Malakamura. Followed closely by Kane Jang. Then it's Hiroshi Hamaguchi and the twin Craft Bamboo Racing Astons. It looks like Daniel Bilski has managed to stay ahead of Team Boss. And race winner yesterday, Frank Yu. Across the line for the first lap, 2:13.8. Another look by Anthony Liu around the outside of the Porsche. So it's Woody Cool leading, Liu second, Mott third, Malakamua fourth, Young is fifth, Hiroshi Hamaguchi is in P6, Frank Yu P7, Daniel Bilski P8, Wayne Shen is the lead GTM class car shown on screen, position number 9 rather. Jeffrey Lee in the J-Fly Racing Audi R8 position number 10. Francis Chia, second of the GTM class cars, position number 11. Thomas Fjordbachs dropped back to third in GTM, position 12, with Ken Urata immediately behind him in the car he shares with Takuma Aoki. That's the top 4 in GTM. Position number 14, Samson Chan. Unfortunately, they had a fire, an oil fire in the gearbox in the back of that car as he came around from the start from yesterday's race. So came down pit lane, put the fire out, not a lot of damage. The team cleaned the car up, went looking for the oil leak, resolved that over the car's back on circuit. You see on screen there, the 2 Craft Bamboo Racing cars. Frank Yu has now got around Daniel Bilski in the number 97. Racer Link supported Craft Bamboo Racing, V12 Aston Martin, Vantage. 2 cars are almost identical. The Racing Link car, the 97 car of Frank Yu's, a generation newer. Both cars run a very good specification. Of course, Craft formed an alliance ended last year with Bamboo Racing out of the UK. Darryl O'Young was a regular with both Craft, and he was too. He drove for the World Touring Car Championship, Hong Kong best driver with Bamboo Racing last year, and saw a great way to form very successful this year. And Frank Yu and Stefan Milk crossed the line first yesterday, and that was pretty much down to the ability of Frank Yu. I'm surprised that Anthony Liu hasn't made up more ground. Certainly, Woody Corn's doing a brilliant job at 2:09.2 on his first real flying lap. That's impressive pace. 2:09.5 for Anthony Liu as he closes in on the back of the Porsche. The one thing these guys need to be a little bit careful of is tyre wear. They have 3 complete sets across 2 hours. Of course, they didn't use them in qualifying, which would have added additional wear, but the rain had an impact on qualifying. So they use rain tyres. There's no control on the amount of wet weather control Yokohamas you can use, but there's 3 complete sets of 12 tyres they have the ability to share between across the 2 races. Some teams elected to do a full set change during their compulsory pit stop yesterday. Others have gambled on doing it today. So some of these drivers will be starting on rubber that is essentially half a race old. Others will have taken the decision to start on tyres that are fresh, and they will swap to tyres that are fresh when they do the compulsory change and put their quicker driver behind the wheel. That was Samson Chan and Richard Wee battling on screen, the Ford GT, the ex-Craft racing car that Samson Chan's been running the last couple of years. And of course, Richard Wee, who shares with Craig Baird, did a sterling job yesterday to finish 5th. In fact, the 5th position, but in 3, 4, 5 were the finishing positions for the 3 Clearwater racing cars just yesterday. Now, it's a long way to go. We have 54 minutes left on the clock. 2 laps now. They're completing their 3rd. Still, Woody Corn managed just to hold position. This is about where they spun and got stranded yesterday. So about this part of the circuit, through safely there. On the run from turn 14 to turn 15. Very fast circuit. It's running Formula 1 at this venue since 1999. Some very famous names have competed on this circuit over the years. As you can see, Kane Jang doing a great job down the inside of the Lambo. Cleanly this time around. Yesterday the 2 made contact. Unfortunately the Lamborghini was spun around. Nathan Antunes was telling me this morning that the lost about 45 seconds, or rather Delantha lost about 45 seconds in that incident yesterday, which would have given them, they feel, about 5th position in the race. It wasn't to be. They finished the race in position 6, and given they started Thursday without an engine in the car, it was a pretty impressive run. Now they're down to trying to fine-tune the car and get some pace. Now, that's showing a drama. In fact, we can see it on screen. There is a drama, it appears, for Thomas Fjordbach. He's on the left of screen there, just been taken by the LKM Lamborghini. Now he's fighting back very, very slow in a straight line. He's dropped wholesale positions. He's probably dropped 6 or 8 positions just in the course of that lap. He's now shown in position number 15. He's probably dropped about 5 positions, to be honest. So you see Anthony Liu doing what he did yesterday, using an awful lot of the circuit and then some. But it's, again, controlled aggression. They've got a long way to go. They've got a nice advantage. They have an additional time penalty during their compulsory stop they have to be mindful of. They will lose 5 seconds over Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Rob Bell, the points leaders, and they're in this title race. Both Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu are in this title race, so they'd be mindful to try and haul in the points lead that the Clearwater Racing McLaren drivers have. They will be 3 seconds quicker during their stop than Stefan Mucker and Frank Yu, by virtue of the fact that the Kraft Bamberg Aston won here yesterday. So they're running to a plan. There's no sense burning up the tyres, burning up the car if there's not going to be a great advantage. Currently the pace is in the 209s, the low 209s, 209.2, 209.3 as they complete the 4th lap. Not far now, coming through turn number 15 to end the lap. We'll see what their pace is like. So what's the point? They're currently pulling away from their title rivals by a reasonable amount. Last time round, 209.6 for Woody Korn, 209.5 for Anthony Liu, 209.9 for Mock. Kane Young is the fastest man on the circuit at 209 dead in the NB team Aston Martin Vantage. 4 seconds now behind the race leader. Malagamua last time round, dropping off the pace a little at 211.6. He's going to need to pick that up if he's going to hand the car to Nathan Antunes and let the young Australian work his way forward in the field. Now, further back down the order, we're talking about Thomas Fjordbach's perhaps struggling a little. He's got the Nissan behind him at the moment. Of course, the team, the BMAX racing team, very experienced in Japan, run the car. It's on screen there. It's just taken the Ferrari 458 challenge of Thomas Fjordbach into turn 1. Has been well off the pace all weekend. At various times I've been down in the garage, they've had the suspension apart, they've been working on alignments, but understandably the heat is having a big impact on the Turbo Nissan power plant. So it's going to be interesting to see how they recover from this. Of course, this is their debut year in the GT Asia Series. They have at times run very strongly, were quick in the wet at Fuji. Of course, the Japanese team were very well versed with the Fuji circuit, as they were at Autopolis. At Autopolis, we shared the circuit with the Super GT Series, which they run a GT300 Skyline in that championship as well. So on screen, still the race leaders. Woody Korn continues to lead. He's doing a great job. This is just their 2nd event in the GT Asia Series. Of course, very competitive in the Thailand Super Series. Porsches, certainly the AAS Motorsport team are regulars with Porsche, and have been very quick, as we say, in Fuji in the rain, with real stars, and they're starring again here today. Surprising the pace they've got out of the Porsche. The Ferrari, which has been, he's taken the lead up the inside into turn 15. This is what Anthony Liu was waiting for. There's no aggression in that, although he's very quick onto the throttle, a little bit of oversteers. Now it's a drag race. Woody Korn tries to squeeze the Chinese driver across against the infield wall. He's not going to have any of it. It's going to be a braking duel down to turn 1. I expect to see the Ferrari's going to keep the line, squeeze the Porsche a little bit wide, and hope he doesn't make the crossover on that very quick left turn into turn 2. Looks like he's going to try. Yes, he has. No, he's kept it there. He's back on the power. He's given those Yokohamas a real hiding. And right behind the Mock's watching this, just waiting in anticipation to pick up a position. He hasn't let them go. He's stuck far enough back that he can avoid any kind of incident if it happens. As Woody Korn again looks to try and take the position back. They're not in the championship run. I need to stress that, but that's not going to bother them. They want to show that they are competitive on this GT Asia stage. They certainly did that before Hitty had a spin in the second race, round 6 of the championship at Fuji. But here, Vuticorn's now dropped back to position 2. Anthony Lou's going to charge, I would expect this time around, as Mock closes in behind him. They could well be in the box seat. Finished 4th in the opening race. Mok Weng Sun and Kitasawa. They are in the championship race. They were equal on points with Frank Yu coming into yesterday's race. Of course, Yu and Stefan Walker won the race, which put Frank Yu a clear second in the championship. He's behind the McLaren duo of Rob Bell and Hiroshi Yamaguchi. So this will allow, in all likelihood, Mok Weng Sun and Kitasawa to be in the box seat. They don't have a time penalty by finishing 4th. They don't get an additional pit stop penalty, unlike their rivals who will be stopping longer, and yet they are ahead of them on track. Okay, you've got Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo. They're behind them in the championship. There's a real battle at the front of the field between all these guys. Now Kane Jiang's closing in behind. The Chinese driver's been getting better and better every round. Of course, drives with his driving partner, Italian Max Weiser, who's been very quick over the first 7 rounds of this championship. But Kane's getting better and better every time. In fact, the 2 of them are the reigning champions in the Super Trofeo series, the Lamborghini One Make series in Asia. So, very experienced young campaigner. Had a lot of drama yesterday that involved in a number of incidents where GTM class cars did not see them. Anthony Liu was very vocal about that in driver briefings after yesterday's race. He's been concerned that some of them were just not driving with their mirrors. But of course, these modern GT3 specification cars, you've got a Hans device on, your mirrors are almost worthless. It's very, very difficult to see around you. Whilst you're concentrating on the heat of battle with Jackie Jung and Thomas Fjordbach fighting Francis Gia over GTM class points, you have very difficult visibility, so you've got a lot on your plate with the action. You may not be completely aware of what's around you, and of course these GT3 specification cars are some 8 to 10 seconds a lap faster, so their closing rates, their brakes are often better, and they are coming at you pretty quickly. So whilst you might think you're free to turn into the apex of the corner, you might very quickly find there's a GT3 outright car immediately beside you. So it's Anthony Liu, a 2:10.1 last time round, 1.5 seconds up in the drive-on screen, the front car of those two, the Vuticorn Porsche, the Singer AAS Motorsport Porsche GT3R, with Mok Weng Sun, 2-time champion in the GT Asia Series, immediately behind him in the Clearwater Racing Ferrari. To make a bit of a prediction here, we still have the compulsory pit stops, we still have the weather to consider, we've got tyre wear to consider. We're 15 minutes into this race, but I would keep a close eye on the number 3 Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458, because they might well be the ones in the box seat. The ones they're trying to close into the championship points, or close down on the championship points, Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi, currently sitting in position number 6. They're 10 seconds behind the race leader and about 8 seconds behind teammate Mok Weng Sun. If we just have a very quick look at the championship points as they stand right at this very moment. Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi, that is Philip Ma in the car he shares with the man who sat on pole yesterday. Malaysia's very own Alex Jung has had a spin somewhere on circuit. As we said earlier in the telecast, they had an issue with the drive line yesterday. Both cars are still on circuit. You see Jeffrey Lee crossing the line as Hiroshi Hamaguchi works his way up to the tail end of Delantha Malakamua, and he's very keen to push the advantage and get past the Sri Lankan in the Lamborghini LP600 FL2. So very quickly, Rob Bell, Hiroshi Hamaguchi lead the championship right at this very moment after round 7 of the championship yesterday with 100 points. On 89 points by virtue of winning yesterday, Frank Yu. So he's 11 points behind. Just 8 points back from Frank Yu. 81 points. Kitasawa and Mok Weng Sun in the number 3 Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458. And Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu, the winners of the opening 2 rounds in South Korea, 80 points. A little bit further back, Max Weiser and Kane Jiang, who are in the NB team, Aston Martin, the aqua blue and white car, a little bit further forward in this field, currently holding down position 4. You see Philip Ma car go past, so clearly they got the number 98 Absolute Racing Audi back on track. The NB team Aston Martin is 50 points, so they're a little bit further back in the championship. Been on the podium a couple of times this year, been pretty consistent. We've had a couple of dramas, of course. Last race, they had a couple of incidences. The last one, contact with one of the GTM class Porsches. Couldn't quite find out which one because there were a number of retirements. John Shannon and Wayne Shannon, Francis Gia may have missed out last time round. In fact, if I just very quickly check the list, Wayne Shannon failed to finish, completed just 19 laps. Marcel Gia completed 18 laps. In fact, John Shannon, Francis Gia did finish race 1. Okay, I've lost my train of thought a little bit here. That's a little tragic. But coming into turn number 15, Hiroshi Hamaguchi has finally taken the position away from Delantha Malagamua and moves into position 5 on circuit. As he crosses the line, 15 seconds now behind the race leader and 12 seconds down on his teammate. He has to stop an extra 3 seconds. That's essentially a 15-second deficit now that Rob Bell will have to Kitasawa, and we've seen both the Clearwater Racing drivers in the 2 Chrome cars been very closely matched on pace during the first 7 rounds of this championship. So that's an advantage that I would expect you to see Kitasawa press all the way to the finish line. Big questions about the car in front. They're not the championship hunt because they only came in for their first event at the Fuji round just a month ago in Japan. But whether or not Pitty's able to carry on the pace he showed during practice and follow through to the end of the race, had a couple of dramas yesterday, one of which finished the race. It may have been an electrical issue. We couldn't get them to confirm that prior to this race. And he had a spin whilst leading after the compulsory pit stops in the rain at Fuji. So if he can get that all sorted, very, very slow entry into the corner by Budicorn. Hopefully there's no issues there with the Singha Porsche. It's Thailand's favourite beverage. So Anthony Liu is pushing on at 2:09.9 last time round. He's just under 3 seconds ahead of this battle. Very interesting line that the Porsche has taken through the turn 7 and 8 complex of the circuit. In fact, that was probably turn 13 on to turn 14 rather. They showed that yesterday, even during qualifying. It was wet. Take a different drive line when it's wet. As many karters will tell you, you get off the race line because that's where it's slippery. You get onto the dirtier part of the circuit, which is when it's wet, that's where the grip is. But he's managed to complete the dry running yesterday using pretty much a similar line. So they may have found something there that others haven't. They were seeing the first of the compulsory pit stops, the number 69 GTM class Porsche. It's just pitted. We saw them spin earlier. They're a little bit further down the order. 3.5 seconds now is the gap between this gaggle on field going through turn 2. Budicorn, Mock and Kane Yang. They are positions 2, 3 and 4. They're 3.5 to 4 seconds back from race leader Anthony Liu, just going through the bottom of frame there in the BBT Ferrari 458. Italia GT3. 4.5 litre V8 mid-engine. That was the argument that both Stefan Mucker and Max Weiser made during unofficial practice on Friday, where the Ferrari of Roy Aguas was clearly the pace setter. He said, I think out of the slow corners, of which there's a number here on the 5.5 kilometre Sepang circuit, the mid-mounted engines, or sorry, the rear engine, as it really is, it's certainly behind the driver, but mid-mounted as in front of the rear axle engine of the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis were the cars they feared most. And that was down to the drive out of the slower corners. The Porsches, the Ferrari and certainly the Lamborghinis were able to get their power down an awful lot quicker than the front engine cars like the Aston. So they felt that was a disadvantage. It wound up being a straight line speed advantage to the mid-engine cars, and that's something that they've carried through the dry running, and that's something that quite clearly Anthony Liu's taking advantage of now at the front of the field, 3.5 seconds up on the Porsche. Another Ferrari, then the first of the Astons. On screen, Delantha Malagamua. brand new engine. 2 Lamborghini factory mechanics are operating this car this weekend, a long time with his long-serving Delango racing crew. They've put some new suspension parts in. It's the current spec LP600 FL2 engine. They've made some serious adjustments to this car to find some pace, and both Delanthra and Antunes have admitted that it's the best it's ever felt, and they were very keen to sort the suspension before the second race here so that both Malagamura and Antunes can make a really hard push at the moment. Doing a great job leading Frank Yu and Daniel Bilski. There's a bit of a form run there whether Bilski's decided that he needs to sit behind the team boss and not overtake him. We don't know. He might just be comfortable sitting where he is, because he'll hand that car over to fellow Australian, young Jonathan Venter, former open wheel driver, who's been here with this team in the past, or rather he's been in the championship with this team in the past, made his debut alongside one of the American drivers, Kevin Gleason, at the last round of the championship at Fuji Speedway. Did a pretty good job. They had dramas yesterday. Unfortunately, they had a gearbox pump failure, or hydraulic pump failure, which was down to, they believe, the intense rain of qualifying. It essentially jammed the car in 3rd gear. Jonathan Venter was able to come in. The team effected repairs, but they lost about 9 laps in the process. They returned to the track, got some good testing miles, and this was their opportunity today to actually get back on the pace. You can see Thomas Fieldbach a little bit further back in the field. Currently shown in position number 15. Whatever issues slowed him on the front straight and let 4 or 5 cars past, seems that it may well have rectified itself last time round at 2:16.3. So it's about the pace they were qualifying at. It's a pretty good run, but they're now classified as the... sorry, a slight delay. Wayne Shen's leading GTM. Second will be Takuma Aoki, depending on who's behind the wheel, and Thomas Fieldbach is shown in position number 3. So they're still on the podium, keeping their podium run alive. They've missed the podium, I think, both George and Thomas split up last time round for rounds 5 and 6 rather at Fuji. The driver pairing split for the first time. They both had a DNF, so it's only once this year they've been off the podium apiece. So currently they're keeping that good record. This will be 7 podiums from 8 starts. The one that is interesting at the front of the field is Rob Bell and Hiroshi Kawaguchi have been on the podium at this point 6 out of 7 races. They're leading the championship. Okay, so we're coming up to 25 minutes of this 60-minute race. Pit stop window is well and truly open. A couple of cars have made their compulsory stop, as we said earlier, 75-second compulsory stop, and that's from the start of pit lane to the exit of pit lane. Stationary car. Teams can change tyres, drivers can change if they're 2 driver entries, as the bulk of this field is. Single driver entries, they still must stop for a 75-second stop. That is the minimum. If they take longer, if they have issues, they can't refire the car under any of those circumstances because they're not refueled. If there is a drama and they go beyond 75 seconds, that's their loss. So they're very keen to ensure that they don't leave before 75 seconds. They certainly don't want to be leaving much after 75 and a half as the B-Max Nissan comes down pit lane to make its compulsory stop. And I think you would expect to see that Tetsuya Tanaka will jump back behind the wheel, and he'd be hoping to do some good things. We have a quick look at the timetable. The best they've done so far is a 1:15.8. No, that's, I beg your pardon, that's wrong. It's not showing their best lap time at the moment. But it appears by the pace of the cars they're running with, it is somewhere in the 1:16s, 1:15s, 1:16s. It's a good 5 or 6 seconds off the pace. When they came into the pits, they were classified 1:15 behind the race leader, just 25 minutes into this race. So clearly the B-Max team struggling to come to terms with the high temperature and high humidity of the Sepang International Circuit. The AF Corsa mechanics are out in pit lane for race leader Anthony Liu to come in and conduct his compulsory pit stop. There are tyres going on both sides of the car, so they will do a 4 tyre change. I can see it directly below me as also Mok Weng Sun comes in. Kane Jiang comes in to hand over to Max Weiser. Keita Sawa jumps in to help the team boss out of the Ferrari. Another great drive by the two-time champion. Hiroshi Hamaguchi is in to hand over to Rob Bell. Frank Yu is in to hand over to Stefan Mucker. So about the 25-minute marks when these guys decide to make the change. Jeffrey Lee now, the pole sitter, or sorry, he was on the front row, P2 yesterday for Christopher Mies, enters the pits to hand over to Mies, who shared the race win with him in Japan for round number 6 of the championship. Road tyres going onto the Ferrari. Like green slicks perhaps going onto, no, there's a bit of an issue. There's a little bit of confusion around the BBT team right at the moment. They put a tyre on and took it off, put another one on. As Keita Sawa, as I explained earlier, would take advantage of this and the additional penalty that the other teams have had, is still struggling down with the BBT team. This is going to cost them valuable time. Now, firing up, I would hazard a guess they've lost a little bit of time during that stop. As one of the lollipop men's almost cleaned up in pit lane. He had cars going both sides of him. One of those, of course, Davide Rizzo, very keen to get back out and on circuit. Now this is going to mix things up. We'll see how this goes. You can see on screen, he was the last of that group in, and yet Max Weiser is going to go out ahead of them, the MBT team car. Nasrat Mazayan is in to hand over to the Rockstar driver, the lucky man of the GT Asia Series this weekend, Rui Guas, the Portuguese driver, very experienced in Ferraris, a favourite of the AF team. They have made their stop. Guas is behind the wheel, and this will sort things out. Pro-Am style racing is another of the hallmarks of GT3 competition worldwide, where the amateur driver gets to drive with a professional driver. We'll be missing something on screen. There appeared to be a little bit of action going on. It may have been a camera. Okay, no, everything's okay. It's one of the Shen brothers rejoining as Vutikorn continues to circulate. He has time still to complete his compulsory pit stop. It sounds like Roy Guas firing up the Spirit of Race Ferrari, the second of the two cars run by the AF Corsa team, as Delantha Malagamua and Daniel Bilski come into pit lane to complete their compulsory pit stop. 98 car, the car that Alex Newman and Philip Marr shared. We saw it spin earlier. Clearly it's rejoined. Davide Rizzo now immediately behind him. Rizzo's shown classified as in position number 4, but of course Malagamua and Bilski have hit pit lane, as now Richard Wee comes down pit lane to hand across to New Zealander Craig Baird. Tyres going on the car, Baird's not in any rush. Multiple Australian Carrera Cup champion, very, very good driver in sports cars and a favourite of the Clearwater Racing team, always on the books when the team heads down under. In terms of people when they talk about Australia, can respect that one. And they go down under to race in the Bathurst 12-hour each year. Of course, Baird and McLean Sun have been on the podium, often share with the UK's Matt Griffin, who's a regular on the World Endurance Championship circuit. Okay, things are starting to sort themselves out. Vutikorn is still leading, 21 seconds up on Malagamua. So he's in pit lane, or has now exited pit lane, but he is shown in position number 2. That is likely to change as we see the big Mike Racing 6.3 litre Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG GT3 come down pit lane. One of the most beautiful race cars, I think, personally, in GT3 competition worldwide. So on track, we see Davide Rizzo. Immediately behind him, that may well be Rob Bell, the championship points leader. I can see a chrome car. Yes, it is. It's the McLaren MP412C of Rob Bell that is closing in behind him. That's for perhaps second outright in this race, maybe third. Depends where the car on screen, the number 11 Porsche GT3R of Pitti and Vutikorn returns to the circuit once Pitti is behind the wheel and they have completed their compulsory pit stop. Still more than half of this race to go, 31 minutes still remaining. Beg your pardon, 28 minutes still remaining, which has gone over halfway. Bjorn Wertheim, former test driver for Formula One, drives in the Super GT GT300 Championship with the again, a Dixell team that campaigned the very same Mercedes, but different style of racing. One thing that Wertheim said to me yesterday was that it was a very different car on the Control Yokohama tyre that is used in the GT Asia Series and used very well in the GT Asia Series. He had to come to terms with that yesterday, and then there was a lot of time trying to get Michael Chua, who spends a lot of time in Malaysia, trying to get him up to speed. Of course, the motor racing team is based here. So the number 3 car with Kita Sawa at the wheel crosses the line, 2:10.8 last time around. The footy car still running laps in the mid-2:11s. And now Max Weiser with a 2:08.7. That is a staggering time, 2:08.73. But Davide Rizzo's gone quicker, it seems, at 2:08.6. So these guys are serious. This is for position. There's just 5 seconds separate the NB team, Aston Martin and Davide Rizzo. In fact, just earlier today, Max Weiser was explaining to me that it's Rizzo's fault that he's over here in Asia running race cars and race teams and doing driver training with Kane Jung, because he first came over for some race in the Asian region and met up with Rizzo. Of course, they're both Italian drivers. He's now the race leader. He's pit lane. Both Italian race drivers. He explained there is a lot of opportunity out here in motorsport in Asia, and for the bulk of the last 5 years or so, this is where Max Weiser has been and made his life, and admits that it really is a great way to go racing. There's a lot of good opportunity, and the competition we have seen in the GT Asia Series this year has been very, very impressive. In fact, just earlier today in an interview, David Sonninger, the boss of Motorsport Asia, who's involved heavily in the GT Asia Series, of course, with Paul Yeo from Singapore. They have turned this series around over the years to the point where a number of drivers come out from Europe. And this was something that Sonninger was explaining. They expect, perhaps, given their experience, to be immediately on the pace at the front of the field, where in fact they are quite surprised at the depth of experience and talent that a lot of these teams that have been competing regularly over the years in the GT Asia Series have. And certainly 2 of those, the Clearwater Racing Team and the Craft Bamboo Racing Team of Frank Yu, have been at the forefront of this championship for the last 5 or 6 years. In fact, the car on screen, Mok Weng Sun, 2-time champion, going into the last 5 seasons, and it looks very much like the 2014 season will be the same. They have been in contention to win the championship. We're talking about which cars are going to be in the mix as this white race wound down. It'll be interesting to see now where the Singer AAS Porsche of Pitti comes out of pit lane, because it looks very much like now that Max Weiser, the Italian, for the NB team, the Aston Martin Vantage, the aqua blue green, we'll get what the colour is, the aqua blue green and white Aston Martin, has crept into contention in position 2. He's 8 seconds back currently from Kita Sawa, but they look like they are going to be in contention for the podium. But of course, right behind Max Weiser, you have a charging Davide Rizzo, and he and Anthony Liu showed yesterday just how competitive they can be. Started well back, P11 after qualifying. They had dramas. Of course, they had a dry setup for the wet weather qualifying, as did many of the teams that were caught out by the rain. And, unfortunately, that looks like Bjorn Wertheim back into pit lane. He's just done the driver change with team boss Michael Chua, but he is back into pit lane. They suffered an alternator failure yesterday, and that eliminated them from the race very early in the piece. So they worked on it overnight. They're explaining that it was okay this morning, but that's not a great sign, seeing them coming back down pit lane. 2 craft cars now, despite the fact that one of them had a 12-second additional penalty, are on track together, and that is Jonathan Venter, raging Stefan Booker, regular with the Aston Martin factory, immediately behind him, trying to negotiate on the exit of the turn, one of the GTM class Porsches, one of the modern motorsport cars, as the race leader comes down to turn 15 rather, to complete lap number 16. Now with the Thai Porsche out, we haven't actually seen it on circuit anywhere, and it should be in this mix for the race lead. This should put Peter Sawa to the top of the time board, and in fact it does. So he's the race leader. That is the car I expect will take the win in this race. Max Weiser now, 6.4 seconds difference that time round. Now it just appears smoke emanating from the right rear of the Clearwater Racing car. Now, that may just have been an optical illusion. Keep a close eye on that, just in case the team may have a bit of an issue. As the Mercedes returning to the circuit, Bjorn Wertheim, the Swedish driver, behind the wheel. That's Anthony Liu's teammate, Davide Rizzo, is in the back with the car on screen. Compatriot Max Weiser for position 2. So it's Soa, 6.4 seconds up the road in the lead of this race, ahead of the man on screen, the number 9 NB team, Aston Martin of Max Weiser. Davide Rizzo, the round 1 and 2 race winner with his teammate Anthony Liu in the BBT Ferrari, is in position number 3, 13 seconds behind the race leader. Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi, the points leader in this championship, shown in position number 4. And the Singer AAS Motorsport Porsche GT3R is classified in position 5. It's a little strange, given the pace they were setting and the run they had. I would hazard a guess they've had an issue during the compulsory pit stop. We can't see it. They're now 21 seconds behind Kitasawa in position number 5. Christopher Mees now 2:08.9 last time around. He has taken over the wheel of the number 7 Absolute Racing out R8 Jeffrey Lee, and you expect the young German driver to really start. Explained earlier, as we see, there's the Porsche on screen. Penny just moves across to chop off the nose of the race-winning Aston Martin of Stefan Mucker. Jonathan Benders. Oh, there's a spin. They've made contact and there's a spin. That is coming around onto turn 14. That was the aggression, I think, perhaps, of Stefan Mucker trying to go up the inside of the pit. He clearly wanted to protect that line. That was, I think in mind that would be declared perhaps a racing incident. But that has taken out Stefan Mucker and dropped him a good 5 to 10 seconds further back. That's disappointment for the team that won here yesterday. That's allowed Jonathan Venter to take both of them. He now crosses the line in position number 6. Christopher Mees is shown in position number 5. And Nathan Anshunas has also taken advantage of that situation in Delantha Malakamua's car, the car that's on screen, the number 24, Piatto, the Lamborghini from Delango Racing, to move up into position number, just check, that's likely to be position number 7. And Petty's run has not been quite so favourable. Dropped from position 5 to position number 8. Okay, so that's making things interesting. And what that will serve to do is make life easier for the leaders. Now, we're talking about whether there was an issue for the number 3 Clearwater Racing Ferrari. Last time round they did a 2:10, as unfortunately the gorgeous Mike Racing SLS AMG comes down to pit lane again. That's the 3rd or 4th time that the car has come back down pit lane. It's clearly suffering an issue whether the team elect to do it. So they were very keen to take advantage of Wertheim's experience in the car, but put that to good use. So far this weekend, Mike Chura has managed to pull a good 3 or 4 seconds a lap off his previous best around the Sepang International Circuit. You see the car on screen. The team's working pretty hard on the left rear. Yesterday when I saw it in pit lane after round 7, after race 1, they had the entire floor off the car, the exhaust out of the car, and I asked them whether or not they had something a little bit more damaging, I guess, or harder to repair than an alternator, and they said no, that's what we need to do in order to remove it and repair it. 3.7 seconds now, Max Weiser. He is hauling that race leader in. He's hauling Kitasawa in by up to 1.5 seconds a lap. 2:08.5 last time round, and 2:10.2 for Kitasawa. Keep a close eye on the number 3 chrome and fluoro orange Ferrari 458 Italia Racing. That may well have an issue as we look on screen. Now what happened there, it looks like Stefan Mucker got on the power. Petty may have been braking or leaving off to take an interesting line. As we pointed that out earlier, they took a bit of a different line through turn 14, whether that caught Stefan Mucker out. But certainly the Aston seemed to be starting to get a little tail happy. As we look at Max Weiser on screen, hauling in very quickly the race leader Kitasawa. Now this could be twice this year I've made comment about somebody that's been having a great run and predicted perhaps they would win the race. And twice this year I've been proven wrong. Unfortunately, for Hiroshi Hamaguchi, on both those occasions we were talking about how good a job they'd done. The second occasion I was talking about how he'd unfortunately spun at Korea, and he did it at the very moment I mentioned it. Now this is disaster for the GTM class. That is George Chu getting out of the car. That is the man who was in the car that was leading the championship. Thomas Fjordbach did such a good job. We did see a slight issue for the early in this race. The front straight of the pins are slow, and that allowed. Now we're looking at the race leader crossing the start finish line. No, sorry, it's running from turn 14 to turn 15. That was Thomas Fjordbach appeared to let 4 or 5 cars past in the main straight. It suddenly seemed to have slowed. Then he got back up to speed and was running around in third. Pivoted in third place in the GTM class. George Chu got out of the car, just if not quicker than the young Dane, and that's tragedy for them to have to put that car away. George Chu stepping out of the car and stopped at the edge of one of the gravel traps, and that's their run in GTM over the day of the championship. Now that's up to Jackie York and Takuma Aoki, who are also in the championship hunt, to move a little bit further forward. Francis Chia and Wayne Shen, of course, they battled in the championship last year. As we look at the Mercedes again getting out of harm's way through turn 2. I'm having a rough run there. What are we looking at on screen here? That is Takuma Aoki or Ken Urata, one of the 2 Japanese drivers. Depends on the order in which they ran yesterday. I believe that's probably Urata behind the wheel. He did all the testing here on Thursday and Friday because, as we explained earlier, Takuma Aoki was competing in an off-road event for Isuzu in Cambodia and in Thailand. Finished that Friday night, got on a plane straight across to Payot. Here ready for qualifying in the pouring rain on Saturday. Hadn't driven here, hadn't driven the car in intense rain, and the car on pole. So the former 500cc motorcycle rider has lost none of his talent and has transferred that a little bit like Alex Zanardi, the IndyCar driver, to hand controls. The headlights on now ablaze on the BBT team Ferrari 458. Davide Rizzo, position number 2. He's 7 seconds back from Max Weiser, so he's not making up too much ground on his compatriot, but certainly Weiser now just 3 seconds behind Rizzo. Sawa's pace has improved a little, but still a 2:10.1. It doesn't seem that the Clearwater Racing Ferrari can improve on a 2:10 dead, 2:10.1, 2:10.2. He's punching them out lap after lap. That's not enough. Max Weiser's half a second a lap last time round. In fact, 7/10 quicker than the Japanese driver last time round. 15 minutes on the clock. It's going to be very, very close, and this will be a real sensation if we will see the NB team Aston Martin come across the line in first place. 2.8 seconds now the gap. Kitasawa 2:10.1. That's the third 2:10.1 he's punched out. He can't say he's not consistent. Regarded as one of the best GT3 drivers in the region. Kitasawa's showing that now, and if that's all the pace that he has out of that Clearwater Racing Ferrari, he is going to very soon have Max Weiser on his tail in the NB team Aston Martin. And Weiser and Zhang have been on the podium a couple of times this year. 5th team-wise in the championship. We'll see a battle between Bjorn Wertheim and GTM class Lamborghini. The 2 blue Durango Racing Lamborghinis are very, very similar because that's the car that Nalagula had been campaigning rather in past seasons. Talking about Weiser and Rizzo being closely matched on pace. Both of them last time around 2:09. Separated by just 6/100ths of a second. 2:09.9. Also for Rob Bell, who's 7 seconds back now from Rizzo in the championship points leading. McLaren MP412C, the brilliant chrome and fluoro orange, very similar to the car on screen, in fact identical in delivery to the car on screen, but of course the British-built McLaren rather than the Italian-built Ferrari, which is on screen now. Kitasawa at the wheel. How close is Max Weiser? Can he see him coming? Of course he can see him coming. The length of the straights here at Sepang International will show Kitasawa just what advantage he has, and he will be able to keep stock of exactly where Max Weiser is. He saw the MBT, there it is there, very visible. not held up this lap. You can see one of the Honda Motorsport GTM Porsches of either John or Wayne Shen behind. He may have lost a little bit of time last time round, but the bit's between the teeth now, as they say, for Max Weiser. He can smell victory. It's so close. 13 minutes to go in this race. Blue flag displayed. One of the GTM class. In fact, it's not. That's the Philip Marr, Alex Young Audi, with Alex Young likely at the wheel. So, given the slow pace of that car, you'd expect that they're suffering some kind of issue which carries over from the dramas that they had yesterday. Rob Bell crosses the line. Christopher Mies crosses the line. Takuma Aoki crosses the line. Nathan Anshoon should be somewhere there as Jonathan Venter crosses the line. Stefan Mucker with lights ablaze crosses the line now. No sign of young Australian Nathan Anshoon. He was right in the mix, very, very slowly crossing the line. Okay, he is shown in position number 8 to 11.8 that last time round, so I might be selling him short on his pace. But okay, Max Weiser last time round, 0.98. Peter Sawa, any surprises? Well, slightly, it's a 2:10.2. So he's dropped a tenth over the pace that he had the last 3 laps, consistently punching out quick laps, but so too is Max Weiser. The Yokohama control tyre for this category. Different tyres do different things in temperature and circuit, and also the construction of the circuit, the aggregate, the tar that's used, the seal, the way it's sealed, all have an impact on tyre wear. A lot of the drivers, the very experienced drivers, have explained that the Yokohama tyre has great initial bite, drops off a little bit after a number of quick laps, which is called performance drop-off, and then it returns to its consistency. We saw that yesterday as Christopher Mies closes in very quickly on the back of Rob Bell in the McLaren. I fear there's nothing Rob Bell's going to be able to do about that. A little bit skaty, a bit of understeer heading into that turn. It does look a little bit uncomfortable, not well set with the McLaren. That may be me, and I apologise to Rob and the team if I'm making a misdiagnosis there. You can see that Christopher Mies is closed right in his tail, so it's only a matter of metres, I would suggest, or kilometres at worst, before the young German takes that position away. In fact, he's taken the inside line on the run up to turn 15. Rob Bell pulls across in front in the twin-turbo V8 McLaren versus the V10 Audi. 5.4 litres, very similar engine. The engine that powers the Lamborghini Gallardo. And another drag race down the front straight. Rob Bell crosses the line to take the position again. Christopher Mies looking for position 4. Whether or not he will be able to catch Davide Rizzo, that's the thing. But both are turning laps into 2:10.5, so certainly he's not going to move very much further at a pace like that. Last time round, he started at 2:10.2. 1.8 seconds now for Max Weiser as they can contest lap number 23. 10 minutes exactly to go in this race, 1/6 of race distance. Great to see the Mike Racing SLS AMG back out there. It'd be nice to see that car run a bit further forward in the field as Rob Bell sticks a couple of wheels up over the river strip. He's pushing hard to everything he can to try and keep the German behind him in the Audi. I think it's only a matter of time until that situation changes. Christopher Mies moves forward another position. Unfortunately for Mies, he suffered food poisoning on Friday night. He was very ill when he completed qualifying yesterday. 15-minute session. Position 2 he managed to get, just hundredths of a second behind his teammate Alex Young in the rain. Immediately after the session, he went straight to the medical centre, was put on a saline drip. Completed just 15 minutes of round 7 of the championship, the opening 60-minute race yesterday, and had to pit because he couldn't complete any more. That's when the pit stop window opened and took him out of the car transport. As I haven't had him confirm it yet, transported him to the hospital, put him back on a drip to make sure he was okay, and he looked pretty much back to form this morning as I saw him stroll down pit lane. Get a chance to have a chat just to see where he's at. But certainly the pace he's showing at the moment is pretty good. So a regular for the Audi factory turns up at the Bathurst 12-hour each year and always does a fantastic job. He's one of the front runners at the recent Spa 24-hour race. Loves his time as a young fella, flies all over the world assisting the Audi customer racing program. His driving service racing's about. He won't be phased by a tap or anything. He'll force the out drivers and work his way past. Now, last time round, Peter Salvas dropped to a 2:10.8, but a 2:10.3 for Max Weiser. Deficit, 1.3 seconds, 7.2 minutes to go, 7 minutes 20 on the clock. Davide Rizzo, 8 seconds now behind Max Weiser, so that deficit between the two Italian drivers still standing around 7 or 8 seconds, 2:09.8 last time around, fastest driver on the circuit. No, that's in fact a lie. Roy Grass, the pace setter on Thursday and Friday, is the fastest man on the circuit in the Spirit of Race Ferrari 458, 2:09.4 last time around. So we're talking about the drop-off in performance of the tyre as it gets wear, as the temperature comes up, as it cops an awful lot of performance out of these cars, 500 to 600 brake horsepower. It is surviving very nicely. We saw yesterday Anthony Liu punching out laps in the low 2:09s as he tried to close down race leader Stefan Mucker, in fact race leader Frank Yu yesterday in round 7 of the championship. Kitasawa crosses the line. Max Weiser crosses the line. 2:10.6 for Kitasawa, 2:10.4 for Max Weiser. So has Weiser taken the best of his tyres? Now, one thing that we can talk about very quickly here that may become the position we're seeing ourselves in. It's one thing to catch a driver, it's another to get around them. And we were talking earlier about Kitasawa being one of the most experienced GT3 drivers or sports car GT drivers in the Asian region. And he's no slouch. Very much like Rob Bell, getting a love tap from Christopher Means. These guys know what they're doing around these circuits, so it's great to try and intimidate, put the headlights on, give them a love tap into a corner, range alongside them under brakes. All those things are not going to phase an experienced campaigner like Kitasawa. He's shown that time and time again. He's still in the box seat. He might not quite have the pace of the marauding Aston Martin behind him. Max Weiser too has plenty of experience. He knows he needs points. This is a championship. He will try desperately to take the winner away because this would mean enormous things to the NB team. This is their first year in the championship. Sean Fu is hopefully watching this footage from his home in China. He's a big part of this team too. Drives with Andrea Colbrelli and Joel Camatias. They have been a part of the NB team this year. Unfortunately, only the one entry this weekend here at Sepang, and they've done a great job. If they win this, there will be celebrations all over Asia. So too, for the car that's leading, Kitasawa and dual champion Mok Weng Sun. The Clearwater Racing team has very strong ties to Malaysia, so this would be a fitting finish to round 8 of the championship if the local team could come home with victory. It's on, 4 minutes 30 on the clock. Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Rob Bell share the car that's on screen, the number 32 McLaren MP412C. Rob Bell caught the tap just a couple of laps ago into turn 1 and through to turn 2 from Christopher Mees, the race winner at Fuji at round 6, the last event on the calendar. They crossed the line again, 2 minute 10.45. We need to get down to hundredths of a second now because it was 2 minutes 10.43 for Max Weiser. 2/100ths of a second difference, 1.05 seconds between the race leader and the chasing Aston Martin. There's nothing in it. Position number 3, Davide Rizzo, almost appears as if he's given up, although he's now coming under fire from the guys on screen. They're just 2 seconds in arrears of the BBT Ferrari. Do they have an issue? See Max Weiser, see Davide Rizzo going through turn 1-2 just as Rob Bell turned into the apex of turn 1. Very, very close. This race isn't over. We talked about driver parity penalties during the pit stop. The idea for that is to ensure that you have as close a competition as possible. The two Durango Racing team cars appear on screen. That's the Urata Aoki GT3 in front of Nathan Antunis in the F2 GT3, the latest specification GT3 car. The idea of driver penalties is to ensure that teams are somehow parity and performance adjusted to make sure that at the end of the race they're all very, very close on performance. And we're seeing that right now as there are battles right through the order. Clearly there is no team orders at the Durango Racing team because the faster of the two cars, Nathan Antunis, is unable to get past Craig Baird is obviously there for position on the tail of Nathan Antunes in the red, number 12, Clearwater Racing Ferrari at the back of that group. So there's 2 GTM class cars, then 2 outright GT3 class cars. A battle between Antunes and Hensing. Tries to find a way down the inside of his teammate. Unable to do so. This will be Craig Baird, keen to get past the Australian. Of course, these 2 drivers both race regularly on the Australian circuit. Antunes is doing everything he can to protect his line. Tipping that won't go down well. He's copped the love tap now from Craig Baird. 2 minutes left in this race. The race leader crosses the line, 2:10.6. Max Weiser crosses the line, 2:10.8. This will be the last lap of this race, depending on how sharp they are with the time. They will cross the line, or come out of, I expect, turn 15, just as the 60-minute mark of this race is settled. Rob Bell retaining his advantage over Christopher Mees. So that is positions number 4 and 5. So still ahead of them. Less than 2 seconds now. The deficit between positions number 3 and 4. That's Rizzo and Bell. Time-wise, last time round, Rizzo's still struggling. He's a little bit further down on the pace of the leaders, and the 2 cars immediately behind him, 2:11.5. He lost a good 7/10 of a second over a second and a half. He should hold that to the finish line. 58.50 on the clock, 1 minute 10 to go. Kitasawa on screen. He's holding that advantage. This will be the 3rd win out of 8 rounds this year for this team. The number 3 Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458, Mockwing Sun and Kitasawa. A very welcome result. You can see now on screen, we don't have to look for the long shot now to see exactly where Max Weiser is. He's closing. 35 seconds on the clock. They're readying the checkered flag. Not just yet. Coming through the turn 13-14 complex. Long run up to turn 15, out to turn 15. Halfway down the straight, so it's halfway close to the floor. The length of the main straight down is where the start finish line is. Checkered flag being readied. Checkered flag is being readied. 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. Race leader comes out of the final corner, up the inside of Jackie Yung. Kitasawa's going to take victory. Checkered flag at the ready. And it's checkered flag time. Kitasawa, Mockwing Sun, win number 3. The Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458 team. Here's another battle. Christopher Mees is trying to go around the outside of Rob Bell. This is not going to work. Bell will run him wide. Will he make the crossover? The drag race to the finish line. Davide Rizzo takes 3rd. Rob Bell, championship points leader, takes position 4. Christopher Mees recovers after a bout of illness yesterday to take position number 5. Now it's the battle of the Craft Bamboo racing cars. And Jonathan Venter will be classified as position number 6. Stefan Mucker, after that spin, which cost him very dearly a little bit earlier in the race, trying to get past Footy Corn, takes position 7. Nathan Antunes, who's still under fire from Craig Baird. Which one of the 2 Anzacs will cross the line first? This battle's going to come all the way to the line. Baird tries to pull up the inside. He's alongside the Lamborghini. Crossing the line? No. The 5.4 litre V10 Lamborghini manages to out-drag the 4.5 litre V8 on the run to the line, and that is position number 8 for Nathan Antunes. Craig Baird, position 9, and Pitty will cross the line in position number 10 in the Singer AAS Motorsport Porsche. Crossing the line now, that is position number 11 for the pole-sitting Porsche of Viticorn and Pitty, the stars of the early segment of round 6 of the championship. So on screen, race winner Kitasawa. There will be celebration down at the Clearwater Racing team with Mockwing Sun, the former champion. Local stars have taken positions number 1, number 4 and number 9 in this race. Round 8 rather. I'm getting a step ahead of myself. Round 8 of the GT Asia Series. So it's Kitasawa, Mockwing Sun, P1, Max Weiser, Kane Young, position number 2 in the MB team, Aston Martin. Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu on the podium again, position number 3 for the team that dominated the opening round of the championship at Korea International Circuit. Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi, the championship points leaders, they'll retain their points lead, but it'll be much closer from the team that is chasing them in this title battle. Kitasawa and Mok Wing-Sun. Christopher Mies and Jeffrey Lee, winners in the second race at Fuji. Position number 5 for them, Jonathan Venter and Daniel Bilski, the two Australians in the second of the Craft Bamboo Aston Martins, leading home Stefan Mucker and Frank Yu, the race winners here yesterday at Sepang International. Nathan Antunis and Delantha Malagamua, position number 8 in the Delango Racing Lamborghini, ahead of Craig Baird and Richard Wee. P9 in the third of the Clearwater Racing Machines. And Roy Guas and Nazrat Mazayan, the pace setters here through Thursday, Friday, and the early stanza of race 1 yesterday. The Spirit of Race Ferrari 458, position number 10. Winners in the GTM class. That will go to, just very quickly scan down the list, Takuma Aoki, former MotoGP or 500cc Grand Prix motorcyclist, will take the position away again. They will take the top step of the podium. Ken Urata alongside the two Japanese drivers, 15th outright, and GTM class winners Wayne Shen alongside, and Francis Chia will make up the top 3 in the GTM class. Thanks for keeping in touch with us. We hope you enjoyed the coverage here from round 8 of the GT Asia Series from Sepang International. It also doubles as the AAMC Macau GT Cup. The championship points will be available through afos.com website. Also keep track of Facebook through the GT Asia Series, or through Twitter, the GT Asia Series, all one word, and we'll keep you informed with updates. This footage will be available to watch online with the AFOS TV YouTube channel, and will also be broadcast around the Asian region and around, in fact, the world through partners in America and in Europe over the course of the next couple of months. Keep tabs on your local guides. Next round of the championship, right back here at Sepang International Circuit, 12th to the 14th of September. Then we're on to Shanghai in China on the 10th to the 12th of October, and the final round of the championship, the annual Macau Grand Prix at the Gua Circuit, 14th to the 16th of November. That will wrap up the championship for 2014. So congratulations again, Mok Wing-Sun, Kitasawa, win number 3 for the 2014 season.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you. Have a drink, have a drink, have a drink. Give a drink. Drink. Papá, ya te veo. Yeah, pretty good. Second place, Moises Massimiliano Estianzi. First place, Keita Sawa and Mokwen Sou. Get
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good time.
Sri Lanka.
Can we have a picture with our girls? No, cannot? Okay. Oh, congratulations. See you next time then. Okay, thank you. They say no.
Did he speak yet?
Okay, thank you.